Hi, Bob and Ellen.
Hey, Alex.
It's good to see you, as if I haven't been seeing you all week as you've been feverishly writing. And this morning you turned in the first episode of Duck Harbor. How you feeling?
Nervous,
Excited.
excited to see what the actors are going to do with it. And it's not easy to let go of control of something like this. And the no table work, that we don't have any of that. So Ellen and I have kind of, it feels like, been doing that with each other.
We are our own table work.
Oh yeah, we read this script aloud, beat by beat, moment by moment, over and over and over again. And we're still figuring out how to do this together, which has been fun. But I am happy to know that she's as obsessive a writer as I. So we picked and picked and picked and picked, and yeah. And I think we found out it's not as easy as well. Maybe I thought it was going to be. I figured we were just going to pound these things out. And we put a significant amount of time into this first episode.
Shocking how many hours for the 10-minute duration of the piece. But we're playwrights, and that is no different than any other single scene in any play that I write. The number of hours that every page gets revised and engaged with, and every line, every word, every bit of punctuation, truly. That is it right? Is it working? Is it lean? Is it allowing room for the actor to play enough, but also giving them room enough at the same time, which is a delicate balance.
I will add that this would have taken me much longer to do by myself. Oh, no doubt. Oh, I don't have any doubt, because I would have been walking around for weeks thinking and thinking and thinking, and having someone right there in the moment to bounce ideas off of, and then to just riff. One of us would come up with something and we would just roll with it and riff with it, and that was really fun. So I guess there was sort of an improvisational back and forth, which maybe we do instinctively on our own, just in our own heads, but instead we were saying them out loud. And there were times when I was taking dictation for her, she was taking dictation for me. It was like, okay, I'm just going to go with this, let's see what we got. Those were really, really exciting moments. And there's one monologue that Ellen wrote like 98% of, that is one of my favorite moments in this first episode. It's gorgeous and funny and kind of heartbreaking too.
It's an interesting process. It's like you're yes-anding, but also dramaturging at the same time, or not at the same time, but alternately at different moments, because we were building on each other's work and ideas in exciting ways. I mean, is this what a television writer's room is like?
It is. I guess this is what it's like. And yeah, right. But I can see how those writers' rooms could be really stressful. And I mean, we have, I don't think, I'll not speak for you, but I don't think that we have been stubborn at all so far. I mean, yeah, there have been no lines in the sand. No, we absolutely have to have this moment. We have to have this word. So there's been none of that. So there's really been a fun negotiation that I think is impacting the negotiating that's going on in the scene. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. I remember when I was a baby playwright, when I was just first starting out, I was so nervous to change anything. And it was like, oh, I've gotten this thing up in the air. It's taking off. I don't dare touch
Mm.
anything, or it will fall, the airplane will
Yeah.
fall apart. And I don't even quite know how it's flying. And it's interesting how my level of trust has morphed over the time that I've been working to see how durable a story can be, how much change you can make in service of better flight.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Even as a director, you know, there's this feeling when something's really working that you don't want to poke around at it too much for fear of like sort of finding the hole that makes the whole thing collapse, right? And I can imagine, especially in those early drafts as a playwright, you're very protective of it and just write and not poke around. And it must be fascinating to have somebody who's constantly poking, right? that there is no space where it's just yours in this kind of process.
Yeah, and it was also, you know, I mean, deadlines really matter, right? And deadlines really motivate. So, you know, yesterday during our 8 or 9 hour session together, which I think was much more time than either of us had thought we would be spending yesterday. You know, I mean, we obviously had deadlines that we had to meet, but you know, when you mentioned, you know, these minor modifications, you gave us some really wonderful notes this week, Alex, throughout the process, and then our own notes to each other. Some of them were significant. You gave us a note 2 days ago, Alex, that was really, really significant. And it impacted the last third of this episode, and you know where it's going to go from here. I don't think it freaked us out at all. I think, and plus we know that we have 12 more episodes to, and that we do need to pace the story a little bit. So so yeah, that was yeah, and I think that's only going to continue. Um, Poking the bear, is that what you call
Right.
I think this episode, particularly because it's the first, we really needed to spend the time and spend the time together. All three of us really is saying, what is this world? What what is the tone of this piece? Who are these people really in their hearts? What is the driving force of this bigger story, so that we can get this little piece of the story right and have a foundation for the whole thing to rest upon. So it was important that we spend the hours and
Yes.
get this get this beginning where we wanted it to be.
Yeah, I think it's so, you know, I often talk about, you know, the first 5-10 minutes of a show teaches an audience how to watch a show. And I think that so much of that is true here. But what's going to be interesting, I think, in this experiment that we're doing, right, is that you all have set up to, you know, help us learn how to watch the show, but then the actors are going to teach you how to write.
They are.
That's the part, the directorial part that I don't have in this is usually, okay, this is what you all think it is what, and we'll all push it forward so that we're all moving it forward the same way. And we don't know that that's going to happen when delivered by the actor. And there's going to be a balance. You know, I'm curious to see where that tension is, of where the actors tell you, no, it's actually going to be this way, and where you try to write the actors through your dialogue, right?
It's like, is it whose line is it anyway? Is
Right.
that show? I love that show, and it's not my kind of show in general, but they are so funny and so fast and so good at something is added and they go for it.
Right.
Something, you know, there's no going back. Everything is forward, and that's what we've built for ourselves here. Is everything that's included by us or by the actors has to be added on and built upon. So I can't wait to see our episode.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, after that first episode, you know, and even the first couple of episodes, they're going to be teaching us their voices, you know, not just what they sound like, but what their heart is like. And that's going to be so important, you know, in a piece like this. I can't wait for Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such a great point, Bob, because, you know, you're always taking into account the actual human who's going to say the words and how they're going to interpret it and playing for it. But so much of this is going to be based on actor instincts. Is that you've kind of got to learn the actor's instincts in some ways, right?
So how much, and I guess we can ask this here, how much coaching are you going to do with the actors now that they have their sides with blanked out, scene partner lines? How much coaching will you do?
No, I mean,
Bob and Ellen asked
I think, and this is really important, I think, for everybody to understand, is that I think the nature of this is for me not to, right? And to let the actors make choices in the moment. That we talk about improv, Ellen mentioned whose line is it anyways. I think when we talk about improv, we imagine the making up of words as sort of what improv is. But there's so much more than this, right? So they have the words, but everything else is in many ways improvised, right?
It is.
And I think watching that happen in the moment is sort of the beauty of this experiment we're all on. And so I think my job is to not try to put my hand on the scale, my finger on the scale, but to see what happens and then just help interpret how it happened, right? So as I say, to learn what the actor's instinct is and to help you all see where the actor's instinct would, this person makes this choice and is going to lean into that choice. So maybe the writing needs to lean with them, right? Or that is, and vice versa. And also to sort of, I will talk with the actors before and after each week, but not to sort of break down the artistic choices, but just sort of understand where they are in the moment, right? And those videos will drop soon. I should say we're talking to them a little bit, but to understand sort of how they come into it, what they're learning from doing it. I think there will be a lot of because it happens and then it's gone.
Right.
I think there will be a lot of I'd have done this if I had it to do it again, right? Or I'd learn this, or next time I want this, right? And to embrace those understandings and those choices that we learn. And so I'm really curious not only how the story moves forward, which I'm curious about, I want to know what happens to these two characters, but how the creation of the work moves forward and how the choices that you all are making moves forward. And
I am so excited about that first moment when they see each other and they've never met, and what that does to them. I mean, we've really put them as a production into that world.
Yeah. It really makes them in part have some of the audience point of view too, right? Like it's always so exciting that there's always something magical about when an actor first enters, right? How do they enter? What does that entrance mean? How will we take their entrance in, right? The only people, in that room usually who know are, the stage manager in the booth and the other actors on stage know how that person's going to enter the room, right? And we've removed that amount of knowledge, We're all going to take it in together.
Mm-hmm.
And of course,
I mean, it's truly environmental, right? I mean, and site specific. I mean, we put them in the space.
Yeah, I wonder how much, if at all, you two thought about that this early. I mean, there's this challenge the actors have that we all know, right? That they don't know what the other person's going to say. They don't even know who the other person is. And that's an inherent challenge. But did you find yourself looking for places to sort of build that challenge for an actor, or give that, this will be different because of the experiment we're doing? I'm going to clip this line, or I'm going to do this to them in a different way.
I think that will probably come over the course of things as we start to read them and their, are they a faster talker? Are they a cutter offer of lines? Are they a thinker where they take something in before they respond? Like every human is different and every actor is different. And by removing the other actor's line, we are forcing them to be listeners in a different way than they might normally have with a script that they've entirely had all of the pieces of. So so I think that's coming.
I think in that same for me, it was probably this morning when I saw the two actor scripts for the first time and saw all the lines blacked out. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And so, yeah, I think we'll write more to that as we, now that we sort of know what we got here. Uh, yeah, that, and then, and you know, obviously, I mean, we kind of, I guess we kind of all believe that plays are mysteries in a way, and that there's a secret inside, and that the audience is trying to figure out. And now we've given these scripts to these actors, and it's just mystery after mystery after mystery, and they're kind of got this bit of a jigsaw puzzle that's not going to come together until the night of. That's fun. I hope it's fun for them. If it were me, I would be terrified. I hope it's fun for them.
But I think that's such an interesting way to put it too, Bob, because like inherently the actors have to be so active, right? They're investigating through the whole scene. They're actively trying to find out what's happening through the whole scene, which characters do in every play. But the actors, and you know, actors have this strange magic where they're both the character and the actor at the same time, but and can be investigating even though they know how the play ends, right? But it just ups that tension, that need so much stronger to be figuring out what's happening, right, in the moment, because I have to do something and I'm not sure what I have to do yet. Right?
Be ready.
Yeah, that's for sure. Listen and be ready. Listen and respond and be ready.
It's like catching a train, like, you know, in old Western, like, you know, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It's like the train is going. It's like you have to time it just right, or you're gonna fall. You're gonna miss it. It's going.
Exactly. Yeah. And I wonder so much about how they, you know, and we'll hear from, as I say, hear from the actors on these videos later, but how you prepare under these circumstances and what week to week is going to feel like for them. You know, we build these rituals of how we get into characters and how we make choices, and so it's all been shaken up here, right?
Yep.
One thing I missed in the writing of this was stage directions. And it's not that we have none, or that we can't have any, but having the intimacy of the camera and the narrowness of the box in which we are telling this story, I miss the stuff of the stage a little bit. It's like, oh, I hadn't understood how much I depend upon people's negotiation with objects to not just have something about the object itself, but for pacing and for like, and so how do you do that same thing without the
And
stuff?
and structure, and you know, beat work and moment to moment work, all of that. And then a director and actors are going to look for that if they're on a stage. This will be entirely different. Or even, you know, I mean, even if this were, you know, a TV show or whatever, you know, there would be movement, and there would be, you know, movement from scene to scene to scene to scene, and we don't have that here.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of that here.
Yeah.
There's some of it.
Well, and that's it, right? It's discovering what it is. Like little things are going to have to stand in for big things, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We're not used to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Writing is all about restrictions, and so it's like, oh, close this door, close yourself in until you get to the fundamental, the basic, the most intimate and important, and then you're at your story. And so I do find that when I'm writing a play, is oftentimes my first notions of a play are kind of big, unwieldy, you know, 300 characters and a Ferris wheel. And then, you know, but eventually it gets down to what actually is important. And that's when you're writing for the stage, that's the heart stuff. And that's what we're going for here, is the heart stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another thing that was really fun about this first episode and the process was, you know, planting some seeds that might not feel like a big deal when you watch this first episode, but that hopefully we're going to button and button and button and follow up on and expand on in later later episodes. That's going to be fun.
I have one last question for y'all before we wrap. This is going to be the last time that we speak on one of these videos until after we've launched, right? And I guess my question to you is, what questions should we be asking you in a week? What?
Oh, wow.
What should we be checking back in with? And, you know, as you've been imagining this all and sort of picturing it all, and then when we actually have seen it, what are we looking for?
Wow.
Did it work? How did it work?
Yeah, that's my, how did it work? How did it work? How did it work?
Where was the magic?
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, because this is an action-packed episode, you know, so that I think we both feel really confident about, but how do we keep the action in kind of what could be a stagnant world? So I think seeing how the dramatic action functions and works in this first episode, I think, and then, you know, and frankly, your question, Alex, since we're not going to have an audience right there in front of us, we're not going to be sitting in the back of the theater watching who's nodding off, watching who's reading their programs. You know, I guess, you know, it's how do people respond to it, and then how does the cast respond to it, and that might be the biggest indication for me of what we've got, is how they really felt in the moment, and all of that.
Love it. Well, we'll check back next week on it and see how it went. Hope everybody joins us June 1st for the launch of Duck Harbor.
Yay!
Join us, everybody. Guys.
Bye, guys.
See you later. Bye.